Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I'm your host, T. S. Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanchard Damas, aka Blanchy Kruger. And today's title is Globalism, Marxism, and MLK Ultra Part 3. So, what you all have to understand is that we are dealing with things of a spiritual nature. So, the average person out here is very surface level. Now, I'm not trying to be deep or anything, but they're looking at things from a very carnal place. This is most people. Most folks don't understand that before it's physical, it's spiritual. And so when they're assessing something, they assess things at face value. This is the problem with the world. And this is how the enemy, Satan, has deceived many, is that he's gotten people to look at things at face value. And so think about how many people you've talked to that actually get information from the Holy Spirit. Think about it. Think about all the folks you hear talking, they got all this information. How many times do they reference the Holy Spirit? Never. So I'm like, how are y'all getting all this revelation if it's not coming from God? Tell me, when is the Holy Spirit instructing you on anything? The Holy Spirit isn't. These people are all in the flesh. And I'm going to say this again. It's on both sides. This whole left and right dynamics. Now, people used to say two wings of the same bird. That statement was a non-contextual statement. Basically, two wings of the same bird meant that when the left did something wrong, they're both wrong. That's all two wings of the same bird means. The left isn't right. No pun. But the problem today is a lack of wisdom, a lack of discernment, and above all, a lack of understanding. And once you take a step back and see what's going on, you can see that it's both sides doing it. So there isn't really one side. I mean, two sides. At the top of this pyramid, for an example, is Satan. So imagine we live in this system that's a pyramid. From the bottom up to the top is Satan. Everything in between from Satan to the bottom is bad. I'm not saying everybody involved is bad, but each system that's put in place on each level of the pyramid is bad. Ultimately, this is why every system they have is bad. Think about it. Everything they create is bad. Everything. I don't care if it's the FDA. I don't care if it's the educational system. I don't care if it's the medical industry. Like, it doesn't matter. How does everything they create end up bad? Well, it's because at the top of that pyramid is Satan. So it can't be good because the Bible says all good things come from God. So if it doesn't come from God, then it's not good. I was watching some clips today, and I remember I was walking out of Sprouts, and I was opening up my social media, walking to my car, and it was Tucker Carlson's voice. He was talking about, I don't even know, I just, because it was on my feed, I hit the video, and he's just, I don't even know what he's even saying. I'm just trying to listen to see what he's talking about. A lady hears me, white lady, and she says, she says, he's a liar. She heard his voice and she said, he's a liar. And I walked, and by the time I realized it, I looked back and she was going, somebody said something, you kind of realize it seconds later. Somebody realized what she said. I looked back and she was going into the store. But my point is that she heard this man's voice, and that means no matter what he says, she ain't listening to it. Now imagine Tucker Carlson, let's say we in the end times, and Tucker Carlson is saying, don't get in the FEMA truck. Just hypothetical. But you hear his voice, and so you say, you know what? Whatever he said, we're not going to do it. But what he's saying could save your life. This is my point I'm trying to make. That they want you to dislike people. That is a very low hanging fruit to dislike a person. What you should be disliking is what the enemy's plan is. That should be your dislike, not the person. You know, I heard these terms of Tucker Carlson. He said, oh, he's dangerous. Candace Owens, she's dangerous. They may even say Nick Fuentes, he's dangerous. Have you ever heard anybody say that Joe Biden was dangerous? Candace dangerous, Tucker dangerous, Fuentes dangerous. Have you ever heard somebody say that Joe Biden is dangerous? They called him senile. They said he wasn't fit to be president. They called him old. Did you ever hear somebody say he was dangerous? Now think about this, people. How in the world can Tucker Carlson be dangerous, Candace Owens be dangerous, and Nick Fuentes be dangerous, but Joe Biden don't get the label of dangerous? And he was the president. This is what I'm trying to get you all to understand. What they're playing on is your low. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but these are for low IQ people. Impulsive reactions, Pavlov's dog. These are low vibrational, low IQ reactions. So they want you to just hate somebody off instinct. I'm telling you that you shouldn't hate anybody. So you shouldn't hate Joe Biden. You shouldn't hate Tucker Carlson. You shouldn't hate anybody. What you need to be looking for is what is the play at hand. And I'm telling you now, this stuff is very uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because we are conditioned to believe there are good guys and bad guys. I'm here to tell you that there are very few good guys. The vast majority are bad guys. If you got a room of 100 people, half of one is a good guy. Miss Goldie said, it's all by design. It's all by design. But why they're telling you to dislike Candace Owens, dislike Tucker Carlson, dislike Nick Fuentes, dislike the left, what's going on behind the scenes? Globalism, UN sustainable goals, like the plan is still moving forward. Like nothing has changed. So it's the wizard telling you, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's literally what they're doing. In the big scheme of things, what difference does it make what Candace Owens says, or Tucker Carlson, or Nick Fuentes? They're just content creators. What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference if they want you to be distracted by them and not the real play. Because the real play is these data centers, AI, these Peter pandemics, these social credit scores, this digital dollar. All of these things are the real issues, because that's human enslavement. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes don't mean nothing in the big scheme of things. It's like they're just content creators. Thank you, Scrapping Beauty. New World Order. What does all this quantum stuff mean? Quantum what? Physics? I don't know. Quantum what? Chips? Computer chips? What you mean? What's up? Run fast wherever. I can guarantee you, if they're trying to push it, it's bad. And it's not bad because I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's not bad because I'm saying it's bad. It's bad because you can't point me something that's been good. Think about it. Everybody thought it was a great idea to have these social services, to have food stamps, to have Medicaid. Like people thought it was to have these food programs. Everybody thought it was a great idea to have free housing, public housing. Like everybody thought it was a great idea. What were the end results? And what I'm trying to tell you is, if it's not done in Christ, it's going to be done in Satan. Let me ask you all a question. When it came to Israel having a land, or the Jews having their homeland, let me ask you all a question. If it was truly ordained by God, then why did the Rothschilds, England, America, why they have to get involved? If the land over there is truly ordained by God, then why did anybody have to get involved? And I ask that question because, again, people lack understanding. If something is from God, it doesn't need man. Matter of fact, when something is from God, man can't take credit for it. That's how I know when something's from God, because man can't take the credit. And you'll hear people say, listen, man, I don't know what happened. It was an act of God. You hear people say that because they can't take credit for it. That's how you know it's God. But if man can take credit for something, then you know it's from Satan. If man can take credit for something, then you know it's from Satan. Every event they've shown us has been false. It's been fake. Hold on. I'll tell you what I mean. I'll tell you what I mean. Let me tell you what I mean. Let me tell you what I mean. Where is... Did I add that? Maybe I didn't. Hold on one second. Let me... I didn't. I didn't. Let me do it real quick. Sorry about this, y'all. I had this video, man, and it was about the Great Depression, and it was about how the Great Depression was a setup. Where's the video? But I mean, we know this from Chad and Chuck talking about this, that the Great Depression wasn't organic. It was intentional. I can't find it, y'all. I'm sorry. It was intentional, but the point I'm making is that, you know, if once you start looking into these events, you'll find that they're all fake. And I say this because the devil deals with illusions. That's what he deals with. So he deals with something that's not real to get you and I to make it real, because technically he doesn't have any power. All he can do is just suggest. And really, his suggestions are just what's already inside of you. Billy said people didn't jump out windows, they were thrown. I guess this answer to quantum is, Corey says, supercomputing powers to collect massive amounts of data. Yeah. And that sounds about right. Anyway, I'm going to ask you all again, whose data, what data are they collecting? What data? What data are they collecting? What data is so necessary?
A man by the name of Milton Friedman called The Monetary History of the United States. And in that book, he made a pretty audacious claim. He stated that the Federal Reserve failed and could have prevented the Great Depression, but instead created the Great Depression, where hundreds of banks would fail, people would trade with seashells, and we'd have a quarter of the nation's population unable to find labor. At Milton Friedman's 85th birthday party, Ben Bernanke got to speak, and at the very end, addresses Milton directly. Ben Bernanke says, as an official representative of the Federal Reserve, I would like to say to Milton, regarding the Great Depression, you're right. We did it. We're very sorry. But thanks to you, we won't do it again. What does that mean? That's the part that pisses me off. It's not even the admitting it. It's the because of people like you, like he's some hero, like you didn't clearly and obviously know if this bank fails, the largest bank of the time in the largest city at the time still is the largest city, New York. This wouldn't cause a large ripple effect in terms of credit and labor. What?
And again, we know, let me just say this, people. If you've ever worked in any kind of industry, anything that has moving parts, there are rarely big mistakes. They almost never happen. They happen, but it's rare. So a bank failing at that magnitude, it is not just from poor decision making, because it takes a bunch of poor decisions to get to failure. So if the Great Depression was organic, and we know it was not, it would take a lot of bad decisions to get to the Great Depression. Somebody would have, there would have been some checks and balances before we got to 25% of the country can't work. You see, I believe the Great Depression, the psyop behind it, was to demoralize the American people. And when I say demoralize, it was to get the American people to become fixated on money as an end all be all. Imagine you create a scenario where you drive people to total desperation. And so now people from that point on are never going to not put money as a god. And so I believe it was intentionally designed to demoralize the American people. Again, I say these things are spiritual before they are physical. So now you got a whole nation of people terrified of being broke. Now you got a whole nation of people willing to pay into their retirement, willing to buy homes, willing to, like, you have a whole nation of people trying to prevent financial lack, trying to prevent financial scarcity. But to me, it was a covert way to pull God from the equation. So in my opinion, the Great Depression should have been the greatest time that folks went to God, went to the faith. That should have been the greatest time to have people go to Christ. The Great Depression should have been a revival for the faith during the Great Depression. Because at that time, all people had was God. All they had was faith. So it should have been the biggest time for the faith. But guess what? It wasn't. I venture to say that most people weren't talking about Jesus during the Great Depression. And that's a design of it, in my opinion. Billy said our show was in control. Again, a lot of what they do is just to give the illusion of power, as my friend says. They want to give the illusion of power. Just remember, and this will make it simple, everything people are trying to tell you is to get you to not trust Jesus, whether they know it or not. That's their goal. That's why I always bring up Christ to always center back my message, because I don't want you listening to me thinking I know it all, because I don't. I don't want you taking my thoughts, my opinions, what I think. I'm going to center it back to Christ. I'm telling you, when these people are talking to you, their goal is to get you to not trust Christ, because if you trust Christ, you don't trust them, then how is the system going to work? It only works if you trust them. If you don't trust, you're not going to comply with them. J.V. Chanel said, definitely ripple effect. Great Depression led to labor unions and the right to work all the way now into 2026, where you have to hire gays, bliggities, and all that. Exactly. That's why I'm telling you that everything that's being done, just think about the top of a pyramid. At the top is Satan. At the top. Now they're going to try to tell you that, well, God can use, listen, you know when it's God and you know when it's not. I'm not even going to play that game with nobody. We know when it's God and we know when it's not. So you get a Great Depression. Now it justifies labor unions, the right to work. Now you got to hire all these marginalized. Think about it. So what's the likelihood of this stuff happening and it being real if the end result's always bad? Ms. Goldie said they're sorting out who trusts the government and who doesn't. If y'all don't understand this, I hope you understand this, that these people, what do you think globalism is? It's just a modern day Tower of Babel. Why do they want everybody to be the same? All of the propaganda behind multiculturalism, equality, all this is really to become the same. So when they say equal, equality, they're not talking about money or stat. No, they're talking about being the same. Because the only way we can all be equal is if we're all the same. And not the same in theory, but the same in position in society. You all are at this level. Billy said we were in a depression in 2008, 2009. They just didn't want to say it, although a couple of politicians did say it. I mean, I'll go with that. But guess what? On purpose. On purpose. On purpose.
Before the COVID pandemic, Dr. Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions in U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the pandemic. Now, in support of President Trump's maximum transparency mandate, today, on my final day as Director of National Intelligence, I'm releasing never-before-seen communications and documents that expose exactly how Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding for this dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lost lives. Now, these documents.
Tulsi Gabbard is always, I always think she's a man. I just always get that vibe. I don't know why. Anyway, so did you ever hear somebody call Dr. Fauci dangerous? So we have, think about everything Joe Biden did. Think about everything Dr. Fauci did. They were never called dangerous. Now ask yourself, why are they calling Tucker Carlson dangerous, Candace Owens dangerous, Nick Fuentes dangerous, but they didn't call Joe Biden and Dr. Fauci dangerous? When clearly those two are actually dangerous. What I'm trying to tell you all is it's propaganda. It's a setup. They're telling you who to dislike and to what degree. See, they want you to dislike Tucker and them morally. They want you to dislike Fauci and them politically. Keep in mind, they're directing where your energy is going. I'm telling you, if you pay attention, you can see it. There's no way that Tucker and Fuentes and Candace could be called dangerous and Joe Biden and Dr. Fauci not. It's insanity. It's insanity. But what they're doing isn't for us because we're not going to do it. It's to put the pressure. It's basically to have us surrounded on all sides. So all the stuff they're doing is for your family to turn against you, your friends to turn against you, your job to turn against you, your neighborhood. It's for the folks around you to turn against you. They know you're not going to change. They know this. It's get everybody around you to change. That's the goal. And I think that Billy said it. He said banker boys call us useless eaters. They do. They call us useless eaters and mouth breathers. Useless eaters and mouth breathers. In other words, subhuman. They never call out anything Bill Gates does, says either. Think about that. So we have them calling Tucker Carlson dangerous, Candace Owens dangerous, Nick Fuentes sometimes dangerous, sometimes not. But they didn't call Joe Biden dangerous. They didn't call Dr. Fauci dangerous. They've never called Bill Gates dangerous. So we have some people that are actually dangerous and they want you to dislike them politically. Because just like in them politically is only your thought process. So in other words, if you dislike somebody politically, you can fight them with a vote or you can fight them with a counter narrative or rhetoric. But when you just like somebody emotionally, you'll crash out. So there's a reason why they want you to emotionally dislike Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes, but they want you to politically dislike Joe Biden, Fauci, and Bill Gates. There's a reason.
Exposed Fauci's direct role in influencing and manipulating IC assessments on COVID-19 and how Fauci lied to Congress in 2024 when under oath he denied knowledge of or participation in discussions with intelligence officials about viral research. We also received testimony from multiple intelligence community whistleblowers who reported retaliation for challenging the intelligence community's manipulation of intelligence on the virus's origins, once again revealing a clear pattern of suppressing dissent, silencing critics, and burying the truth. Dr. Fauci's close relationships with the intelligence community enabled him to assume three key roles that shield him from scrutiny. First, Dr. Fauci funded dangerous gain-of-function coronavirus research linked to big pharma and their pursuit of universal vaccines worth trillions of dollars. Second, Dr. Fauci was the behind-the-scenes advisor who, alongside his hand-picked so-called experts, pushed the intelligence community to endorse a natural animal origin to hide his dangerous gain-of-function research that he funded using taxpayer dollars, all of this in a deliberate attempt to cover up the truth and shift the blame and attention away from Fauci's own actions. Third, Dr. Fauci became the nation's pandemic pundit, and he publicly pushed lies, disinformation, and censorship using every platform available. Now, according to hundreds of reviewed emails, which are included in this release, the intelligence community almost always incorporated Fauci's recommendations. He promoted a fraudulent paper whose publication he helped prompt as legitimate information for intelligence community consideration. Senior analysts praised Dr. Fauci not as a policymaker, but as what they called an unbiased guide to the real coronavirus experts.
Now, I'm going to tell you why this is propaganda. I know you all are going to say Blanche, Tulsi Gabbard is spilling the beans. She's letting the cat out the bag. She's exposing Fauci. Listen to me, you all. This is my own opinion. The whole gain of function scenario is a cover-up. And it's a cover-up for what it actually is. It is a bioweapon, not a virus. It's a bioweapon. And that bioweapon is activated by something. I don't know what. But it's activated by something. Whether it be cell phones, whether we don't 5G, whether it be chemtrail, I don't know what it, but something activates it. So what they did was they said, okay, we're going to try this gain of function narrative. The gain of function narrative is easily palatable because, okay, well, they're trying to make a virus gain function, meaning it can do more than it did before. Now it's able to do all this other stuff, but I call cap. They want you to believe it was a lab leak and a bat, but it's a setup though, because what they don't want you to know is, no, it wasn't gain of function. It was just a bioweapon. And all this animal origin stuff is cap. Gain of function, they've been doing gain of function. All that stuff is cap. It was a bioweapon. And whatever was in those syringes was to add on to the bioweapon. I remember it said something like 87% of people that had COVID didn't have any symptoms. %87 of people that had COVID didn't have any symptoms. Remember, they kept saying that it was, you couldn't tell if you had it or not. So you had to go ahead and keep your distance and then get the shot because you know if you had it or not. Remember that? And I used to talk to people and they said they were when they got COVID, they were tasting chemicals or metal. Why would you be tasting chemicals or metal? People were saying this. When they got COVID, they were tasting chemicals or metal. Why would you be tasting that? You've been sick many a times, but you didn't taste metal or chemicals. Where'd that come from? So I'm trying to tell y'all, it was a bioweapon. I don't know what activated it, but it wasn't no gain of function, and it didn't come from no animal. It didn't come from no bat. They created something. Whether it be ancient technology, I don't know, but they created some kind of bioweapon. And it was designed to make it so bad for somebody to make them go and get the shot. Because I remember one person told me when a few people told me this, wherever they had an injury, When they got COVID, that's what was hurting. So I'm telling y'all, whatever they created was smart. Somebody was in a car accident, I know. He said his back was on fire. Somebody had a lung punctured in the army, chest on fire. Somebody was car accident, somebody had surgery in their knee, on fire. Anytime somebody had an ailment in their body, whatever it was would attack it. So I don't believe this whole gain of function, nothing. It was a bioweapon. Scabbing Beauty said in November 2019, sick for 3 weeks, 2 of my cats died. I could not taste anything, could barely breathe. Does that sound like a virus? Does that sound like the flu? Whatever this thing was, it knew your weakness, and so it attacked it. So what Tulsi Gabbard is talking about is just to get you to fix your eyes on Fauci. Fauci, the bad guy. She got a whole stack of papers on her desk in them folders, and she ain't open up now one of them. It's all a show. This ain't real, people. It's not. It's not. The real cover-up is what they actually created. Because the Wuhan lab story is a cover-up. Maybe the turbo cancer was the bioweapon attacking a weakness in young people where cancer would have formed in their older years. Listen, I believe, I'll go with that. But I believe, Billy said, I believe Tulsi was forced into it. Of course. Of course. Right. You don't see LeBron going against him. Meanwhile, his son had 2 cardiac arrests from the jab, the biggest sellout. But even that, right? Even his son having cardiac arrest, you never saw any surgery scars from the chest, from surgery. You never, in other words, they used that conspiracy theory so his son didn't play in college. I'm trying to make this make sense. Okay, so his son shouldn't be in the NBA. If his son plays a full season, there's no way he gets drafted. So what they do is they come up with this fake story. No folks are going to believe the cardiac arrest from the shot. Folks are going to believe it, and they'll accept it. I'm telling you, he never had a heart attack. They just use that so that his son would have to play in college to justify him being drafted. Because think about it. What were they all saying? We didn't really get to see him because he missed so much of the season because of the heart attack. He had surgery. I'm just telling y'all what it is. Because there's no way on God's green earth you're going to have surgery during the basketball season and play that same season. Like, no parent would be okay with that. No parent would be okay with their child having a heart attack, having surgery, and still playing basketball that year. Maybe next year, but not that year. Come on, people. It didn't happen. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. Yeah, but you can't put Bronny in the NBA after playing a full season because you don't have an argument for him. Because you'll just say he averaged 5 points for the whole year. He shouldn't be a pro. I'm trying to tell you, like, this stuff wasn't. I guarantee if you lift up Bronny's shirt, there are no scars from heart surgery. 0. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. No scars. Oh no, his son is trash. It ain't, come on, his son can't. Okay, I won't say he's trash. He's not an NBA player. He's an off the bench college player. That's what he is. So even people talk about long COVID. Like I'm telling y'all, it was a bio weapon. It wasn't nothing natural. It wasn't. Forget gain of function. People were saying, I know a young lady, she got it, and it took her 3 years to recover. That ain't no virus. It took her 3 years to recover. That ain't no virus.
While deliberately ignoring experts who might dissent from Fauci's narratives. Now, Fauci didn't stop there. He blatantly lied to Congress under oath during his 2024 testimony to the House Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, denying that he ever spoke to any intelligence agency about COVID. Now, the correspondence I'm releasing today directly contradicts his sworn testimony. Now, we received statements from multiple whistleblowers revealing that the intelligence analysts who dared to challenge Dr. Fauci's COVID origin conclusions faced threats of retaliation, marginalization, and many suffered career setbacks. For example, a contractor was terminated just days after coming forward to ODNI as a whistleblower. Another example, those who advocated for the lab leak hypothesis or expressed dissenting views were reminded by their managers that leadership would determine which analysts would be promoted and which would not. The message was clear: go along or be punished. Senior leaders also sought to undermine whistleblowers by removing anonymity, which is required in the whistleblower process, as they made their complaints, and also insisting that their managers or attorneys be present during ODNI meetings where these whistleblowers were coming forward.
Listen, man, it's all a show. It's all a show, and it's a charade. They use the bioweapon to get people to run and inject themselves with the bioweapon. That's what happened. They use the bioweapon to get people to self-inject the bioweapon because, remember, Satan needs your consent. That's why they had people going and get themselves injected, because it has to be voluntary. Well, she said it was her last day. So, I mean, she said it was her last day.
Said that restricting and banning abortion is a tool of the far right uses to maintain white supremacy. Do you believe that pro-lifers are white supremacists?
I believe that reproductive liberty is...
No, do you believe that pro-lifers are white supremacists?
I will tell you what I believe if you're asking.
Yes or no?
I can't answer that question, yes or no.
I don't think that pro-lifers are white supremacists. Do you?
What I think is that reproductive liberty is a right that every woman should enjoy.
How many babies in the United States that are aborted are black? About 40% of abortions nationwide are of black babies. Blacks represent about 13% of the population. Does that sound like something a white supremacist would oppose?
What I would say again is that SPLC supports reproductive liberty.
Calling somebody a white supremacist is a pretty serious charge, isn't it? I would think you would be able to defend that if your organization says that. You clearly seem unable to.
Mr. Gill, I'm not sure why you would think I'm unable to do anything.
Because you're the president of the SPLC, which labels pro-lifers as racists.
Well,
so all this always circles back around to anti-whiteism, because anti-whiteism is just cover for anti-God. So I want you to think about something. The SPLC says that if you are against abortion, you are a white supremacist. So in other words, to be against women sacrificing their children to Satan, you're racist. I keep telling you all that this anti-white agenda is at the foundation of all of this, because they know that once white, let me ask y'all a question. What do you think is going to happen when there are no more white people that actually care about the world? What do you think is going to happen? There's no more white people that actually care about the world. What do you think is going to happen?
Does your organization just hurl around epithets like that without any justification?
Mr. Gill, what we do is
I'm giving you the opportunity to
You're not
justify.
giving me the
Mr. Chairman,
opportunity.
what's he referring to? And can he let the witness answer the question? This is outrageous.
No, it's not. The time
Allow him to
belongs-
speak.
I know you
What
don't like
What
my
are you
question.
referring to?
Time
I know you
belongs-
don't like my question.
What are you referring to,
Time
Mr. Gill?
belongs to the gentleman from
My time
Texas.
All of this stuff is anti-whiteism. Globalism, Marxism, racism, anti-Semitism, climate change, xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, all of this stuff is anti-white, because all of those terms are for white people. If black people don't have the power to be racist, they don't have the power to be anti-Semitic, they don't have the power to be homophobic. Think about it. When they say that black folks don't have the power to be racist, what they're really saying is that black people have so little power that they're actually morally above being bad. It's all by design, because they use black people to get people to say it's okay to do it. So black, again, people of influence. The goal is to get people to see black people and say, okay, if they're doing it, it's okay to do it. So what they have folks believing is that black people have so little power that they can't be racist, anti-Semitic, any of that, which means they're actually good. They're so low on the totem pole, they're actually virtuous. This is how they get people to follow this stuff. So remember, when it came to those shots, remember when COVID first dropped, black folks were going around and saying, remember this, that we can't get it. The whole initial thing with COVID was that white people was getting it and black people couldn't get it. That was the first thing that was said about it. The very first thing about COVID that was said was something dealing with racism. Black people. White folks is getting it. We can't get it. Then that whole narrative shifted. Black people getting it the most. So in other words, they made COVID racist. So COVID went from only attacking whites to now attacking majority black. It's all by design, people. It's all a setup. And I remember I was talking about the shot, and all these black folks told me they wasn't taking the shot. All these black folks told me I ain't taking no shot. All them black folks took the shot. Because you know why? They made it about race. They said the white people are taking their shots more. Black people are dying more of COVID. All of this racial narrative was to get black people to start taking those shots to get everybody else on board. And y'all still don't see it. You don't see they're using black people to usher in this antichrist. Y'all ever notice when it comes to Hollywood, for instance, let's see Hollywood as an example. When it comes to Hollywood, we're never specific, because think about how much damage Hollywood is causing think about how much damage the media is causing. Think about how much damage these two major things in our society are causing. And we never pinpoint the culprits. So when it comes to Hollywood, we just say it's Hollywood. When it comes to the media, we just say it's the media. But there are actual people in these industries that are at the top. There are actual people in Hollywood that have power. Actual folks in the media that have power. So when we say the media in Hollywood, why aren't we ever specific? If it was anything else, we would be specific. If it was the government, if it was the city government of Baltimore, we would get specific. If it was a company that was selling a bad product, we would get specific. But when it comes to the media in Hollywood, why is it so vague? Why are we saying this person made this movie? This person produced this movie. This person greenlit this film. This person greenlit this show. This person produced this show. Why isn't it ever specific when it comes to media in Hollywood? When we have actual people that we can point to, because every show and movie shows you who did what. So we got actually names with faces, and we don't even call them out. And look how much damage the media is causing, and we don't pinpoint anybody. Why not? Why not? Shout out to the 3 people watching me on Instagram.
To think that things were very, very bad before machines came along. But actually, it was the Industrial Revolution that caused people to be exploited very, very harshly. It was only with the coming of the Industrial Revolution that people really worked grindingly hard, unforgiving hours. And that the medieval peasants in the Ancien Regime before the French Revolution had 180 days holiday a year. And they also took it for granted that they would have a couple of hours break in the middle of the day when they would sleep or do whatever they wanted to do. They would have a long lunch. So the idea that life was miserable until machines came along and liberated us is the inversion of the truth. Because it was possible before capitalism for a small community to live on not that much labor. It's only with the advent of capitalism when people thought, oh, I can get rich by making more than I need and selling it. The idea of exponential increase meant that people started to work very, very hard. So it was with capitalism in the 18th century and industrialization that things began to get really, really grim.
Remember what we said earlier, the devil deals with inversion.
We were taught to think that things were very, very bad before machines came along. But actually, it was the Industrial Revolution that caused people to be exploited very, very harshly. It was only with the coming of the Industrial Revolution that people really worked grindingly hard, unforgiving hours. And that the medieval peasants in the Ancien Regime before the French Revolution had 180 days holiday a year. And they also took it for granted that they would have a couple of hours break in the middle of the day when they would sleep or do whatever they wanted to do. They would have a long lunch. So the idea that life was miserable until machines came along and liberated us is the inversion of the truth. Because it was possible before capitalism for a small community to live on not that much labor. It's only with the advent of capitalism when people thought, oh, I can get rich by making more than I need and selling it. The idea of exponential increase meant that people started to work very, very hard. So it was with capitalism in the 18th century and industrialization that things began to get really, really grim.
So everything that we have been told has been a lie. And I realized something about cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is really a fancy word of a person that's just not honest. That's all it is. Cognitive dissonance is just you're not honest. You're not an honest person. Because before you can lie to somebody, you got to lie to yourself. And that's all it is. None of these historical events are accurate. None of them. None of these events happened the way they said they did. You know how we know this? Every time we look into one, it's never like they said it happened, which let us know it's all a lie. Because the reason they're not telling us how it really happened is because they want a certain outcome. Sigtham said, and even if you didn't get it, that jab is so evil. If you have sex with someone who got it, you're cooked. 1,000% correct. This was a bio weapon. That's what it was. It was a bio weapon. So that means they got you coming and they got you going. No pun intended. The sword to cut you going in and cut you going out. So what they did was they put something in you, do with your consent, and what they put in you ain't going away. Not only is it not going away, you can transfer it. The devil will always give you what you want because you want to get back to normal, you want to go on vacation, and you want to keep your job. The devil will always give you what you want, but he will never let you enjoy it. So let this be a lesson to anybody listening. If you do something wrong and you get what you believe is something good, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. I don't care how much you lie to yourself. I don't care how much you put on a show. You are not going to be able to enjoy it. So you all got that shot to indulge in this world, and now you are spreading around a bioweapon. So that means you all sleeping with somebody, you getting it, and y'all sleeping with somebody, you spreading it. And y'all are none the wiser. Somebody tell you, oh, I didn't get back, I didn't get the shot. You think that's good enough? Oh, you didn't get it. You don't know what they've done. You don't know you don't know what they've done, who they've been with. You just don't know. But if they tell you they didn't get the shot, oh, that's good enough for me. Slow and low mind. Slow and low. Charles said the story in the Epstein files about Epstein and Bill Gates discussing COVID before it came out was quickly silenced. I know it was. See the Epstein files. This is how they get you, y'all. The Epstein files ain't about who was sleeping with who. That's for the low brains, the low minds, the knuckle draggers. The Epstein files, let me just go to it. Let y'all know what this thing is about, man. This is what it's about.
You looking at Epstein before 2000 and what he was doing, because if you look there, it's bad news for Bill Clinton. It's bad news for people like Bill Gates, who were very powerful. And it turns out Epstein had a major role in the creation and development of the Clinton Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That would be very damaging if it came out for those foundations, which, as we know now, have an extreme influence on health policy globally and other policies as well. And it was Epstein, for example, who is even admitted by the New York Times to be a eugenicist and things like that, who designed the HIV/AIDS program for the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Health Access Initiative, which works very closely with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and various other things. So, it's very relevant, his involvement there, but they don't, there's a lot of off-limit stuff with Epstein. It's like a very narrow window that people in the mainstream are willing to cover and discuss.
And again, that's the real issue about the Epstein files. So they got you worried about who slept with who. That ain't the real issue. The real issue was all the other stuff. Talking about COVID before there was COVID. All the other stuff. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Clinton Foundation, two of the largest nonprofits in the world. know the way they can launder money, funnel money. Talking about AIDS programs. Listen, so this whole Epstein thing, him being a sex trafficker, child molester, whatever you want to call him, is a cover-up for what he really was. And again, it's how they get you people. They want to get you emotionally invested in somebody. So they got everybody hating Epstein, but they ain't looking behind what he was really doing. They done made it about a sex scandal. It ain't about no sex scandal. This is what they covering up. All the behind the scenes stuff. That's what they're covering up. Y'all would care less who was sleeping with who. Y'all don't care. You don't care. It's this other stuff that's going to rock the boat. What's tomorrow? Wednesday? Let me see one more. Let me see. What is this right here? What's this?
A warrior formation for a war on foreigners, marching across South Africa's cities to warn African immigrants here that it's time to leave.
The leaders of this march are saying that it's peaceful, but it doesn't feel peaceful. They're brandishing weapons. They're in the heart of Johannesburg's central business district, making it clear to everyone here that they do not welcome African foreign nationals.
Here is my message to my South African brothers and sisters. I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. I understand where you're coming from. But the issue is, you are targeting the wrong people. The immigrants are not running your country, you are. The person in the office is the representation of you. So if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, why won't you package that frustration and not anger and just deliver it to his door instead?
Does it look peaceful? Now, I'm going to tell you about the irony. The irony
These South African protesters want undocumented African migrants out of their country. Recent protests against illegal migration have taken place in several cities. Demonstrators want the migrants to leave, saying their jobs should go to South African citizens and accusing them of dealing drugs and other criminal acts.
Some of them are mercenaries from other countries. Some of them are running away from persecution for serious crimes. But our government doesn't seem to think that is important enough. They think that dealing with xenophobia is more important than dealing with this issue of our lives being in danger.
Officials in both Nigeria and Ghana have made formal complaints to the South African government about recent anti-migrant incidents. Several other African governments, including Zimbabwe, Malawi, Kenya, and Lesotho, have warned the citizens in South Africa to be vigilant. The South African government has condemned violence during the protests, but says there are legitimate concerns about illegal migration.
South Africa has laws that must be respected, that must be abided to by all, citizens and non-citizens. And we're saying those who are undocumented must do the right thing.
South Africa's unemployment rate is above 30%, and is a major driver of worker frustration and political tension. But the unemployment rates are even higher in some neighboring countries, which means South Africa remains an attractive option for many in the region.
I want you to think about America went through a Great Depression at 25% unemployment. This country, South Africa, has a normal 30% unemployment rate, and the countries around them is higher. So that means that it's a Great Depression as a way of life. Notice the rhetoric that they're using. They're using the same rhetoric, these Africans, as what they would call the white people in America use. They're talking the same way. They have the same complaints. These immigrants are coming over here and they're taking our jobs. They're bringing crime. They're saying the same thing the racist white folks say. This is what I'm telling you, it's all propaganda. Now imagine all these countries feeling the same way that white people do in America, except the difference is that white folks in America aren't going to harm illegal immigrants. These people are going to kill them. In these other countries, they kill them. The white folks here just going to complain. They going to kill them. But when it's African versus African, shh. Only say something when it's white. Only say something when it's white. Shh, be quiet. Don't say nothing. But mama, they saying they doing worse. Shh, be quiet. Quiet. Listen, boy, only when it's white. Repeat after me. Only when it's white. Only when it's white. Only when it's white. It's white. All this stuff is the anti-white agenda. All of it. All of it. Not some of it. All of it.
This is just wild. So we have two groups of Jewish people, one supporting Palestine, and then clearly the other ones who don't support the ones supporting Palestine. I mean, is it anti-Semitism when a Jewish person is yelling at a Jewish person about not being Jewish? What is the rule behind this?
Free USA from fucking Islam, motherfucker. Israel is committing genocide in Gaza.
Israel's committing genocide in Gaza. Wow. Judaism rejects Zionism. That is such an important note for anybody that doesn't realize. Zionists will hide behind any religion. There's Christian Zionists, there's Catholic Zionists, there's Jewish Zionists. Religion does not matter to them. They are all a part of this group called the Synagogue of Satan, and they have hijacked every single religion and hid behind them, making it seem like, oh yes, we believe in the Torah. No, they don't believe in the Torah. They believe in the Kabbalah. Do they believe in Christianity? No, they secretly practice dark occult practices behind closed doors. Judaism can be a beautiful, peaceful religion if you follow it without the Synagogue of Satan's influence, without the Zionist influence.
Well, my point in this video was the fact that just like in Africa, the Africans were saying the same thing as what they would say the conservative whites were saying in America. Then you have Jewish people saying the same things that they would say the anti-Semites would say about Jewish people. Keep in mind, they're telling you that when these people do it, it's wrong. But when these folks do it, shh, don't say nothing. This is what I'm trying to tell you, is that when you're picking and choosing, You're picking and choosing for a reason because it's propaganda. There are Jewish people that are against whatever's happening in Gaza and Palestine. And personally, obviously, that's a lot of propaganda too. But what's happening there, they are against it too. But they never get called anti-Semitic. And they're saying the same thing that the people that are called anti-Semitic are saying, but they don't get called anti-Semitic. So that means you're biased. The Africans in South Africa are saying, we are going to get rid of these illegal immigrants. We don't want them here. They're bringing drugs and crime, taking jobs. We want them out of here. They're saying the same things that these quote unquote white conservatives are saying in America, but you're not saying anything. You know why? That makes it propaganda, because you're saying we'll accept the message from this group, but not this group, even though they're both saying the same thing. That's how you know it's propaganda. That's how you know. When you got different groups saying the same thing, but you only administer a punishment to one, that's how you know it's propaganda. I know it's hard. But my point in all of this is for us to look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is going to require you to abandon your emotions, because they want you to be emotional about what's going on. And I'm telling you, you don't have to be emotional. You don't have to hate or dislike anybody. So this is not a message that is what they would call anti-Semitic or what they would call anti-Black, what they would call whatever they're going to call it. This is about what they want you to do. They want you to be emotional so that when they offer you something, you're going to take it. That's the goal. They're trying to make you believe you don't have any options. And I'm telling you, you always have Christ as an option. The people in the world are going to want you to eventually serve that Antichrist. Satan's at the top of the pyramid. So everything they're doing is to get you to follow Satan. Corey says, summer rain in Cali, hope it's not hard. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Stimulated student says the Old Testament was fulfilled. They have a false religion paradigm. Their entire identity is based on the rejection of Christ, which in turn of a rejection of God he made known. And I mean, that's just true. It just is. You can't reject Christ and not reject God. It's just how that works. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is what it is. If you reject Christ, you reject God. It's just what it is. So even telling somebody that anybody telling you that any religion is worshiping the same God as people that believe in Christ is a liar. They're lying to you. It's not this. You can't reject God, Christ, and say you worshiping God. You just can't. I'm sorry. I didn't make it up. I didn't come up with that. That's what the Bible says. That's what Christ said. If you reject me, your father is Satan. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Listen, I love y'all. I want you all to be great, be bold. Don't fall into fear. We're going to trust God on everything. We're going to have faith. We are not going to be sheep at all. We're going to trust God. We're going to have faith. Let the chips fall as they may. J.V. Chanel said, Islam and Judaism isn't Abrahamic either. Say Islam especially isn't. Especially Islam ain't. Anyway, listen, I love y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Thank y'all for tuning in. All right, good night.